recall last February 25, you manifested in my petition, I raised these two issues. Now I will ask you on this.
Yes, sure. Thank you, Your Honor.
Article 6, Section 26, Paragraph 2 of the Constitution provides that the President may certify to the necessity of the immediate enactment of a bill to meet public calamity or emergency. Do you know the case decided by the court which delved into this certification by the President regarding the urgency of a bill?
Yes, Your Honor. Well, if you're referring to the case of Tolentino, Your
Yes.
Honor, it was cited there.
Tolentino et al. Versus Secretary of Finance, 1154455, promulgated on August 25, 1994. The basis for such certification has been challenged in that case. And this pertains to the certification of the urgency of the passage of the expanded value-added tax law, Republic Act 7716. The court found that the Senate did not find any need to controvert the same, and in fact, it accepted such certification. My question is, the House of the Philippine Senate and the House of Representatives sitting in plenary accept that certification of the President in this case?
Yes, Your Honor. From the records of the House and the Senate, the House and the Senate accepted the certification of the President, there are objections, of course, Your Honor, from some senators. But I think, Your Honor, the issue of whether or not the House or Congress accepts the certification is not going to overturn a constitutional violation. In this case, Your Honor, while the President has the discretion to issue a certification of urgency, Your Honor, it's not a boundless discretion, Your Honor, that the Constitution, because the Constitution put in parameters, Your Honor. The first is that there is a public emergency or a calamity, Your Honor. And second, there is a bill that meets this public emergency and calamity. And third, there is a need for the immediate enactment of this bill to meet such calamity. So therefore, Your Honor, in our interpretation, the President must follow this. Notwithstanding whether Congress agrees with it or not. If the President did not follow the parameters under the Constitution, for example, he issued a certification absent any calamity or emergency, or he certified it despite the fact that there is no immediate enactment of the bill, then for us that is violative of the Constitution, Your Honor. So in this case, we argue that the President issued a certification, but from the records of Congress itself, there was no emergency or calamity to speak of. And Your Honor, the reason for our interpretation of this, other than the fact the certification did not mention any calamity, so that at least Congress can exercise its discretion to accept or not accept the certification, the timeline itself, Your Honor, from congressional records show there was no calamity. They approved the bill, Your Honor, on second and third reading on September 27 of 2023. And then they had a recess on September 30 of 2023. They did not transmit the bill to the Senate despite the fact that it's supposed to be an emergency or public calamity. They only transmitted it, Your Honor, in November. So they approved it on 27 to September 27. They deviated from the constitutionally required legislative process. But then after all the rush, Your Honor, they took a recess. And then they transmitted it November 4. Then we realized later on the reason for that hiatus is because they formed a small committee to amend the bill already approved on third reading, Your Honor. So that was the reason why they had to wait for November 4. Publicly, the small committee declared, oh, don't worry, we will finish, the small committee will finish all the amendments by October 10. But then they failed, so it's November 4. Then there is the BICAM, Your Honor. Then they created a technical committee. All these things, Your Honor, we believed, does not show emergency or a calamity, Your Honor. And secondly, Your Honor, if Congress is going to delay the approval of the budget on the basis, oh, we're going to have a recess, we're going to form a small committee, and so on, it is a self-created emergency, Your Honor. The President cannot certify a self-created emergency. Ginawa niyo yon, bakit ako ang magsicertify sa kasalanan niyo? It cannot even be a preemptive emergency, just in case Congress will not be able to pass it in December, so I'll just issue a certification in September. It cannot be preemptive, Your Honor. The certification of the President as to a public calamity or emergency must be existing at the time of the certification, Your Honors. So, in that case, Your Honor, the President or the certification violated the parameters of the Constitution. There was no calamity. There is even no immediate enactment, Your Honor, because whatever the President do, it will only take effect on January 1 of 2024. So much so that whether or not he certifies it, the immediate enactment is not forthcoming as required by the Constitution, Your
Having
Honor.
said a while ago that it was accepted by the Philippine Senate and the House of Representatives, is that not within the realm of, are you not questioning the legislative wisdom behind such acceptance of that certification?
Your Honor, no, Your Honor, because legislative wisdom can only be considered if there is no violation of the Constitution. In fact, Your Honor, this is very strange. Presidents issue certification. They did not explain to the Congress what calamity I'm addressing, how will this bill meet the calamity, and yet Congress blindly follows a certification. I have a suspicion, well, beyond this case, Your Honor. In fact, it was probably Congress who requested the prayer for them to exercise that discretion. Ano ba itong emergency na sinasabi ng Presidente?
Now let me now ask you about bicameral conference committee.
Like this,
Do you recall decision of the court that made mention about this BCC, bicameral conference committee, Abacada Guro party list
Yes,
versus Ermita?
well, I've read the
number 168056 promulgated on September 1, 2005.
yes,
The
even
Supreme
Tolentino
Court,
mentioned that, Your Honor.
said in that case that this BCC is mandated. The court, in effect, recognized that to settle these diverging or disagreeing provisions in the House and Senate bills.
Yes, Your Honor. There is
Are you against this BCC or bicameral conference committee?
No, Your Honor, as long as they follow the Constitution. In the Constitution, for example, Your Honor, appropriation bills should exclusively originate from the House. And the role of the Senate is to propose amendments to the bill. 281 billion ang program fund from the NEP submitted by the President, 281 approved by the House, 281 approved by the Senate. The Senate did not propose any amendments to the 281 billion. Suddenly, Your Honor, the BCC proposes 431 billion, half a trillion, Your Honor, of items and projects in that program fund. So did that originate from the House? No, Your Honor. It originated from the senators and the members of the House in the BCC. Was it the proposal of the Senate? No, Your Honor. The Senate did not propose amendments to the 281 billion. So even the senators in the BCC have no power to propose amendments. The BCC, Your Honor, cannot propose amendments to that already approved by Congress and the Senate because the BCC is not the Senate. And the Constitution says the Senate may
You
propose.
mean that BCC cannot introduce new provisions?
They can introduce harmonization, as you mentioned, Your Honor. If Congress says 281 billion and the Senate says, let's make it 300 billion, the BCC can now harmonize the two provisions. But in this case, Your Honor, the House said 281, the Senate said 281. So where did the 739 billion come from? It came from them, Your Honor. So they have no authority to propose it. This is ultra vires, Your Honor. It did not originate from the House. It was not a proposal of the Senate. If it's ultra vires, no amount of ratification, Your Honor, can cure an unconstitutional act.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I got your point. Let me ask you about the application of this very popular doctrine of operative fact.
Yes, Your Honor.
Assuming that your petitions are deemed meritorious, will the application of this doctrine of operative fact prohibit the return of the money transferred to the National Treasury?
Well, Your Honor, of course, it's at the discretion of the court. But for us, at the very least, the 479 billion of new items inserted by the BCC should be returned. And those funds which were spent with bad faith, for example, Your Honor, there was a TRO issued, and yet the filial funds transferred were still spent despite the TRO or after the TRO, and I think they should be returned. The entire filial fund should be returned, Your Honor. Well, the 479 billion, Your Honor, if there is corruption attendant to the bills, I would like to think that they should be returned, Your Honor, at the very least. But we leave it to the discretion of the court in this case, because ito yung problema, Your Honor. They placed us in a corner. Gawa-gawa ng iilan, everybody's affected. I mean, if you're going to ask, would the entire budget must be voided, then everybody's affected, even the court. Gawa-gawa ng iilan, lahat tayo, ngayon nakalagay tayo sa pader, Your Honor. Kaya minsan mapilito na lang tayo mag-operative fact. Siguro, Your Honor, if the court is going to exercise the operative fact doctrine, at the very least, the parameters should be issued para wag nang ulitin. Kasi otherwise, pag inulit nila yun, Your Honor, malagay na naman tayo sa alanganin, mag-operative fact na naman ulit tayo. They've cost hundreds of billions of pesos to the Filipino people. And lulusot lang sila because of the operative fact. Nagastos na namin. I mean, Your Honor, I am now in no conscience to say na sige na tanggalin, ibalik lahat yan. Siguro the court will have to do this as declared by the court, sparingly, case-to-case basis. But for me, if there's bad faith, if there's corruption, the court must order its return, especially the entire PhilHealth fund. For example, Your Honor, 89 billion, that's clear from the questions of Justice Ko, and other funds that may have been attended by corruption, Your Honor. In any case, Your Honor, whatever is the decision of the court, if there is an irregularity or corruption, people must go to jail. People must be charged for this insertion of ₱500 billion in the budget of the program appropriation, merely because it's their whim, not because the House said so, not because the Senate proposed it, but because they felt they know of items that nobody ever thought of, not even the President, not the House, not the Senators. They, by their lonesome, the BCC Senators and the House of Representatives thought of these items that nobody thought about. For us, Your Honor, that is not only arrogance, that is a usurpation of the powers of both houses of Congress, Your Honor.
This is what the doctrine of operative fact says. It nullifies with law, but sustains its effects.
Yes, Your Honor, in exceptional circumstances, Your Honor.
So it does not apply to this case.
It is the court's discretion to apply, but at the very least, Your Honor, we would like to assert at least yung 479 billion. Sana masoli man lang yun. Kasi talagang void yun eh. Ultra vires talaga, Your Honor. But of course, we leave it to the court. Ang limit lang namin, Your Honor, is this. At least the billions of pesos taken from PhilHealth and the billions of pesos taken from PDIC, I heard it, I read it's 100 billion pesos taken from the Philippine Deposit Insurance Corporation. They should be returned, Your Honors, because these are very important to the right to health, as my co-petitioner said, and even the security of depositors, Your Honor. You take 100 billion pesos, more than what was taken from PhilHealth in PDIC, these things, Your Honor, there must be a lesson taught here, Your Honor, and they must be, the court may order the return. It is the burden of the respondents to prove that they did it in good faith, there was no irregularity, no corruption. Then the court may, of course, we submit to the court's discretion on this matter, Your Honor.
Thank you. May I now ask the
Thank you, Your
council's
Honor.
correspondents.
The PhilHealth funds was not discussed in relation to operative fact. Can we add to what my colleague has pointed out? The
Proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you very much. The operative fact doctrine is based on, the court says it should look at the effects and rule based on equity and fairness, because it's a rule on equity. So you have to show the one who implemented the law, did they do so in good faith? We will point out the government's action have budgets of bad faith. But before that, Your Honor, let's also look at the effect. Is it equitable? Is it fair to the people when they took away the PhilHealth funds? Clearly, it's not, Your Honor, because the law clearly says those funds are for the health of the people. And our people, if we look at PGH, just right in front of the Supreme Court, early in the morning, hundreds of people line up because they cannot afford healthcare. They have to line up in our government-funded hospitals because they have no choice. PhilHealth should have provided that choice. So it would be inequity if we do not return the money. Now, did they took the money in good faith? No, Your Honor. Why? The law is clear. They should not have taken it. Then we go to COA. Let me point to the COA observations published in the COA website for GOCC's 2023. Your Honor, when they took the money from PhilHealth, it was actually triple whammy on the PhilHealth members. Why? Number one, they took the money in contravention of the law. Number two, when they took the money, their computation was wrong. The COA was saying the 89.9 billion, even assuming the computation is correct, is even assuming that their formula is correct, rather.
May I remind you that my time is very limited.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Please expound that in your memorandum.
Yes, Your Honor.
Please.
Thank you very
So,
much, Your Honor, for giving us the opportunity.
Thank you. May
Mr.
I
Counsel?
now ask the
Mr. Counsel, may I call your
councils
name?
for respondents.
Ang pangalan niya? Mr. Ocampo? Mr. Ocampo, next time you seek the permission of the court before you speak. You just don't back in there. Thank you. If that's the case, then let's have a recess. We resume after 30 minutes or 20 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Chief.